All right. Um, I believe I'm recording. So I just wanted to read Revelation chapter 1, verse 12 through 16. And there was a specific verse in verse 14 where it talks about Christ. His head and his hairs were white like wool. And I just want to go into that and explain that for people and any Hebrew Israelites who may be listening to get the proper understanding. Verse 12, and I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw seven golden candlesticks, and in the midst of the seven candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow. So, me being a former Israelite, I would explain this like his head and his hairs were white like wool, meaning he has white woolly hair. And I think the major problem is, even though I knew grammatically, this makes no sense. This makes zero sense. This is not what it's explaining. I still said it. And the reason was because that was what was expected of me, right? That's what Hebrew Israelites teach. But I believe every Hebrew Israelite in their, I'm not gonna say everyone, um, most of them who have the education understand that his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, is talking about the color of his hair, not talking about the texture being like wool. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, right? So he had eyes that were like a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass as if they burned in a furnace. So all of this doesn't seem like a actual person would have it, right? This seems very symbolic. And his voice as the sound of many waters, and he had in his right hand seven stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength, right? So as and he had in his right hand seven stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword. Now, when you look at any Hebrew Israelite posters, you don't see this part when they describe Christ. Right hand, seven stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword. Why? Because it doesn't make sense. It makes it seem more symbolic rather than an actual description of what Christ looked like. So that's what I just want to go over today. I just want to explain that verse 14, when it says his hairs were white like wool, it's describing the color and not the texture. If any Hebrew Israelite has a problem with this, they should make a video explaining why this is not true. But that's all I have for today, and thank you for watching.